It's May of 2014. Dr. Dre is sitting next to Tyrese Gibson and a camera is rolling. He looks straight into the lens and says, quote, "The first billionaire in hip-hop right here from the motherfucking West Coast." The clip goes everywhere. It's one of the most confident declarations in the history of hip-hop. There's just one problem. It isn't true. Not even close. It would take exactly 12 years, a brutal divorce, a massive catalog sale, and a gin brand approved after 15 taste tests before Forbes would finally agree with him. March of 2026. Dr. Dre officially hits $1 billion, ranked 3,332nd on the Forbes World's Billionaires list, tied with Rihanna, making him the second hip-hop artist ever to reach that number, behind Jay-Z. This is not a story about collapse. This is a story about a man who announced his own victory a full decade too early and then had to spend every year after that actually earning it. Rewind, 1984. Andre Romel Young, a kid from Compton, California, starts making music. By the late 1980s, he's a founding member of N.W.A. alongside Eazy-E, Ice Cube, MC Ren, and DJ Yella. They basically invent West Coast gangsta rap, put it on a record, and watch the country lose its mind. In 1991, Dre leaves N.W.A. and co-founds Death Row Records. A year later, he drops The Chronic, his debut solo album, and creates the G-Funk sound that would define an entire era. 1999 brings the follow-up 2001. Both albums are massive, but here's the part most people skip over. Dre wasn't just a rapper or a producer, he was a kingmaker. He launched Aftermath Entertainment in 1996 under Jimmy Iovine's Interscope Records, and through that label, he put Eminem, 50 Cent, and Kendrick Lamar on the map. As I broke down in my previous video about Jennifer Lawrence and how Hollywood bent around her, sometimes the most powerful person in the room isn't the star. It's the one deciding who gets to be a star. That was Dre. Now, here's where the money gets interesting. In 2006, Dre and Jimmy Iovine start Beats Electronics, Beats by Dr. Dre headphones. The idea sounds simple enough. Make headphones that actually sound good and look cool. Most people at the time were using those flimsy white earbuds Apple shipped with every iPod. Beats came in with bass-heavy audio, flashy design, and celebrity endorsements. They dominated. Dre held roughly a 25% stake in the company. By 2014, Apple came knocking, and they didn't come cheap. Apple bought Beats for $3 billion. Dre's cut, before taxes, was somewhere around $750 million. That's when the video happened. That's when he declared himself hip-hop's first billionaire. But financial analysts and Forbes immediately pushed back. State and federal capital gains taxes took a massive chunk out of that payout. His actual net worth after the deal sat somewhere between $700 million and $800 million. Big money, not billion-dollar money. Jay-Z would officially become hip-hop's first verified billionaire in 2019. Dre had jumped the gun by 5 years, and that gap was about to get wider. Between 2020 and 2021, Dre went through one of the most expensive divorces in entertainment history. His ex-wife, Nicole Young, fought for a significant portion of his fortune, and the settlement landed at roughly $100 million, paid out in 2 installments of $50 million each. That is a staggering hit to anyone's balance sheet. He also sold his Malibu home for $16.5 million during this period. All while the public narrative shifted from Dre is a billionaire to Dre might never actually be a billionaire. I personally think this is the most underrated part of this whole story. Everyone remembers the Beats sale. Almost nobody talks about how close that divorce came to permanently keeping him out of the 3 Comma Club. So what does Dre do? He doesn't panic. He sells smart. In January of 2023, he unloads a major portion of his music catalog, his royalties, masters, and publishing rights to Shamrock Holdings and Universal Music Group for over $200 million. Those assets had been generating about $10 million a year in revenue. He reportedly wanted $250 million but settled just below that. And here's the detail that I think a lot of people miss. That deal did not include his ownership stake in Aftermath Entertainment. He kept the machine that generates new value. He just cashed out the legacy income. That is not the move of someone stumbling into wealth. That is calculated. Then comes the part that genuinely surprised me. I spent a couple hours going down this rabbit hole, and what I found was wild. In early 2024, Dre and Snoop Dogg launched Gin and Juice, a line of ready-to-drink canned cocktails. And they didn't just slap their names on some cheap liquor. Dre went to a laboratory in Chicago, put on a white coat, and taste-tested gin profiles from scratch. He told Big Boy in an interview, quote, "This is not a liquor that we're just putting our name on. Nowhere at all. It's just like the headphones. You know? It's like Beats. Everything was us from the ground up." The canned cocktail won Best Canned Cocktail at the 2024 Beverage Digest Awards. By late 2024, they expanded with a premium gin called Still Gin, and it shipped to around 30,000 stores globally. That is not a vanity project. That is a business. On March 10th, 2026, Forbes made it official. Dr. Dre's net worth crossed $1 billion, 12 years after he told the world he was already there. The man bought Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen's Brentwood estate in 2014 for about $40 million, then spent over 3 years expanding it with an underground pool, a gym, a studio, and a theater. He created nearly 400 unreleased tracks during the pandemic, which he's still tinkering with. He said in a recent interview, quote, "Who knows if something is gonna happen to make me come up with the best thing I've ever done in my life. The exciting part is there's the potential of that. The guy just hit $1 billion and he's still talking like he hasn't peaked yet." Now here's where I want to push back on the easy narrative. Most outlets covered this as a feel-good comeback story, and in many ways it is. But some analysts point out that a lot of Dre's wealth is locked in assets. Real estate, private business equity, stock holdings, these are not liquid. In 2025, celebrity net worth had him pegged at about $500 million. Forbes says $1 billion in 2026. That is a massive gap. The truth probably lives somewhere in the middle, depending on how you value illiquid assets. The label of billionaire is as much an accounting opinion as it is a fact. But Dre doesn't seem to care about the accounting. He once said, quote, "I don't chase money. I try to make the money chase me." I'm curious what you guys think about this. Was the 12-year wait the real story, or was the premature celebration the more honest moment? Because here's what sticks with me. In 2014, Dre looked into a camera and spoke his future into existence. He was wrong at the time. He was embarrassingly, publicly wrong. And then he spent the next 12 years through a divorce that cost him $100 million, through a pandemic, through catalog sales and gin laboratories and 400 unreleased songs, just quietly making it true. That's not hype. That's patience disguised as arrogance. And I think that might be the most Dre thing of all.